May I come in, sir?
Yes, come in.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Take a seat.
Thank you, sir.
Neha Banerjee.
Yes, sir.
Give a brief introduction about yourself.
Sir, my name is Neha Banerjee. I come from the city of Kolkata in West Bengal, and I have done my graduation in electrical engineering from IIT Kharagpur. I have passed out in 2018. Since then, I have been working in a software company called Adobe Systems Private Limited, and side by side, I have been preparing for civil services.
Where are you working in Adobe?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At Calcutta or?
No, in Noida. Sir,
Noida you are
yes,
working.
sir. Since the last 1.5 years, I am in Noida.
Neha, there was a time when people used to say, what Bengal thinks tomorrow, India thinks today, India thinks tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Why this reversal of trend?
Sir, I believe that after independence, the situation drastically changed. This is because if we look at our industrial policy, many of the failures of Bengal today are a culmination of the flawed industrial policy followed both by the state government as well as by the center. One of them, many people blame the militant trade unionism during one of our chief ministers after 1980s. But even before that, if we look at the tariff equalization policy of the central government, which technically advocated that there will be concessions for transportation of industrial goods to other parts, so that the resource-rich regions do not get that much benefit. So that is one flaw as far as the industrial policy is concerned. And so many of the people say that since Bengal has been a hotbed of Indian politics right from the birth of Indian nationalism, we say that there is a lot of student jingoism existing in Bengal, and maybe, sir, that is the reason why people say that people are lazy to work and people are not.
Do you see any hope for Bengal?
Yes, sir, definitely. It is my home state, and one of the reasons while coming into civil services has been the hope as well as the previous prestige and the glory of Bengal, which I'm really proud of. And sir, I see a lot of hope because especially after the economic liberalization, I find my city developing much ahead than what used to happen when used to listen from our fathers and grandfathers' time.
Why do you want to join the civil services apart from bringing back glory to your state? What are other?
So that is one of the reasons, and sir, my primary motivation behind this has been my curiosity regarding things and issues surrounding me. When I was in this stage of my life where I had to decide regarding my further career policies, I found that there are a lot of situations starting right from municipal issues and cleanliness issues to international situations, which made me very curious. And that is how I started preparing. And then gradually when I spoke to other people whose parents have been in the services, I gradually realized that yes, this is the thing.
But you are getting a much better salary, quite a handsome salary while working in Adobe.
Yes, sir.
So you want to lose all that perks to join so-called a very challenging service?
Sir, because I personally believe that money can be one of the factors behind choosing a job, but it can never be the ultimate motivation. Because a job is not something where you sit for 8 or 9 hours a day and then you earn money out of it. It is also something which drives you throughout your life. It shapes your vision. And so in the civil services, the sheer feeling that you'll be able to do something for people surrounding you, at least this feeling is little bit absent in my present job. And that
but
is
don't you think, Neha, that bureaucracy bashing has been a favorite pastime for the Indians?
Yes, sir.
It's not without a reason.
Yes,
I
sir.
believe.
Yes, sir, definitely. Whenever I share my aspirations with people around me, most of the time I see a lot of negative connotations about Indian bureaucracy. So many of that can be related to the colonial legacy which the service shares. And also because I think that in India, we have a very foolproof system of democracy working. Our institutional governance has been strong, I believe. And maybe, in this juggernaut of let's say the rules and regulations, I think bureaucracy sometimes it oversteps its boundaries, and sometimes they are mired in this entire web of rules and laws and regulations, and that is why sometimes it gets detached from people. And people in general are waiting for something very fast and some very drastic economic growth, and that doesn't happen in a liberal democracy as ours.
What are the strengths of bureaucracy according to you?
So the strength of bureaucracy is, I think, following rules, established rules, regulations, and not overstepping it. Then I think, sir, another reason is being connected with people. And so I think the mere fact that UPSC conducts a very fair and transparent policy, not only UPSC, even if we look into other parallels in our bureaucracy, I think the fact that people from diverse backgrounds can join the bureaucracy, and I think that is the best thing about bureaucracy on us.
Bureaucracy is known to be a steel frame organization. Do you think there has been an erosion in that steel frame, or it continues to be as strong as it was?
So it has been called a steel frame due to some reasons, and starting right from the British times, it has taken up policies for the benefit of people overall. But yes, as we see, if we see the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, then rank 80 as of now. And so I believe that a lot of that is also, bureaucracy is also reprimanded for corruption and for taking decisions without the concern of people. And so yes, sir, the steel frame has got some erosion, but definitely there are signs of abatement.
Okay, suppose if you don't get into IS proper or IFS and you'll end up in a service like PNT Finance Service, will you still leave your job with Adobe and join a PNT Finance Service?
So I would like to inform that I have already left my job. Incidentally, my last working day was yesterday.
Okay.
And so yes, if I get any other job other than IS or IFS, then I don't think I really have an option apart from joining that. But I believe that all the 24 services, which at least the services which I have opted for, I have done adequate research on that, and I am ready to take up the job with utmost integrity.
So you are confident of getting into one of these services?
Sir, I am hoping to get into.
If that doesn't happen, what is your plan B now that you have left that organization?
Yes, sir.
Service?
Yes, sir. So my plan B is primarily to prepare for the civil services, and if possible, I have also spoken to one of the professors in IIT Delhi regarding any teaching assistantship in the university. So if I can teach.
Thank you.
Neha Banerjee.
Yes, sir.
Do you share qualities with Mamata Banerjee?
So that's a tricky question, in fact. Sir, in terms of qualities, I would say that a lady, breaking up years of rules of one political regime and establishing her own political ideas in a state so deeply infested with politics for such a long time, that is a commendable issue. If I would have to share something with her, then it may be that commitment, that dedication to do something apart from all the negativities and all the obstacles that we face.
And any negative trait which you share with her?
Okay. So I think being too verbose and being too verbal about issues surrounding me can be.
Can become.
Yes.
Okay, no problem. Neha. Neha, you are from Kolkata. Yeah.
Yes.
What is the origin of Kolkata?
So the origin of Kolkata, as many people say, that it was founded by Job Charnock and in the year 1698. But if we look into the etymology of the word Kolkata, it comes from the word Kali Khetra. So it is the place where goddess Kali resided, right from the times of Mughal Pargana, when it was a Mughal Pargana. And after that, the Kolkata that has evolved since then is mainly one of the presidential towns under the British regime. And then it is mainly known for its its contribution to Indian nationalism and its cultural and scientific evolution since then.
Regarding yesterday's economic survey, we came to know that women labor force that continues to decline. Give your observations.
Yes, sir. This is as per the periodic labor force survey, women labor force has been declining. And so, if I would like to point out the reasons behind it, it can be because our economy is undergoing a structural change, and probably there can be a skill mismatch with, like, initially we found that the digital technology and employment in the software industry and all, they have empowered women. But if we look into, even these industries are becoming very disruptive. And if we compare between the urban and the rural labor force, then though the rural labor, women labor empowerment is high, but the decline has been more drastic. So, sir, much of it also can be contributed to the agrarian distress in our country.
Do you suggest any solution for this?
For women's,
Yeah, increase in participation.
Yes, I think we can look forward to the concept of women-led development. That is, if there are schemes, for example, the Ujjwala Yojana, if they are targeting women as their main beneficiaries, then probably we can break apart the shackles of patriarchy in that case, and women can take a role in not only receiving but in also contributing to the economic empowerment. And lot of other issues, sir, for example, water scarcity, all of them are very intricately related to women's distress. And if these issues are solved in a, handling them in a lot of, with micro targeting, then I think, sir, women's issues can be.
Regarding these days, we find that is popularization of concept of entrepreneurship. Okay, but we don't find many women entrepreneurs. What's the reason?
So, if we look into the state data that India is the third largest startup economy in the world, but sir, many of them are related, I mean, most of our entrepreneur and startup ecosystem is related to digital, and it's very urban based, and it's digital, which already requires a base of technology. And if we look into our primary health and education status, then we can understand, sir, that if the foundation is not strong enough, then how can women, or in general anybody, target for these? I mean, what I mean to say is, sir, that the startup ecosystem is inordinately it's not balanced, it's unbalanced towards a sector which already requires some prior foundational skills in technology, which is not accessible to many sections of the Indian population.
The government is helping out women entrepreneurs. Just name a few.
So I can name the Stand Up India scheme, which is targeted towards the women and the people from SC/ST community, and also the Startup India scheme, and also there are schemes under the government e-marketplace where procurement of the public companies, I think 3% of them are reserved for women-related.
Bank loans are also there.
Yes, bank loans are also there. Jan Dhan Yojana is also targets women as a primary beneficiary.
Okay, thank you.
Neha, you're coming from Bengal, and I can see that you mentioned that your family income is around 50,000 rupees.
Yes, sir.
Then why are you not falling in this EWS category?
So my family income is 50,000, but when I was applying for the civil services, I was earning around 90,000 per month because of my software job. So I shouldn't fall under EWS.
But what are the criteria for the EWS? Whether the person's own salary has to be counted, and for how much period one should have been earning that much to fall out of the EWS?
In my understanding, the EWS was regarding your family income. It considered your family income since the last one taxation year. So it was around 8 lakhs per annum for the last taxation year. And
anyway, you were working with Adobe.
yes,
And Adobe, if we consider from open source to proprietary software, Adobe is on the other extreme, where its reputation is of not sharing, rather being an anti-share platform, be it almost all softwares, that includes the Acrobat itself. What do you find about while working with Adobe about this philosophy of not sharing? Do you think that was a company philosophy, or it just a product that's in the market?
So a lot of Adobe's product, like people are usually familiar with Photoshop and with Acrobat Reader. So a lot of them were actually acquired by Adobe, and a lot of that also catched eyebrows when these mergers and acquisitions were done. In the US, some antitrust laws were also filed against Adobe. So if the technology is not indigenously built by a company, then sir, I think it's a bit of a problem to open source the code base for that product. So probably that is the philosophy behind keeping. And sir, Adobe, it's not that it's not open source, because usually Adobe's business policy is to have many services accumulated under one platform and then charge a lump sum business revenue from the buyer of that product.
I was listening carefully when we were discussing CM of Bengal. If you look at the current Indian political scape, you'll realize that she's the only woman in a seat of power. What happened down the line in 70 years that we as a nation, we had more women chief minister when we got freedom than we have now? Why women are not reaching to the seat of power nowadays, one? And it's not just the question of India. Actually, world over, we are seeing leaders with the image of being anti-women getting popularly elected. Do you believe that feminism or the women in power bad patch is going on?
So I believe that political empowerment of women is a very important vertical when we consider women's empowerment. But sir, if we look at the system, the entire political democratic system which exists in our country, or maybe the masculine nationalism that is rising in many countries other than India, like Hungary and Russia. Sir, I believe that women are afraid to join politics because it has been so much laid with criminalization. It is so much concerned with criminalization. We find out that as Association of Democratic Reforms reports point out that criminalization of politics has been very high. And we find a lot of money and muscle power going on inside the Indian political system. So probably that deters women from joining clean politics.
So, I mean, these elements are successfully shooing away women. That's a
yes, sir, that is a cause of concern that women are deterred from joining politics. But sir, I also believe that, like, if we look into our panchayati system, then we have 33% reservation of women. But sir, in most of the cases, we find that women are backed by men and they are just used as proxies by the village headmen to pass their own schemes under the name of women. So I think, and sir, one more thing is the rise of, which I call the rise of, elite feminism, like where we look into feminism only in issues which are not directly related to concerns of a common woman or a common rural women in India. And so
you also mentioned that you like budget traveling.
Yes.
And any women budget traveler will tell you that budget traveling for men is more of compromising with facilities, with conveniences, but budget traveling for women is compromising with security, safety. Why is it so? And do you believe that solo budget traveling in India is still a distant dream for women?
Sir, as per my experiences, I won't really say that it's a distant dream because I have done these things. But sir, yes, there has been some instances where I felt that there is a lack of security and there is a lack of, the aura doesn't support because most of the time what happens when we travel, we also come into contact with local people around. And sometimes local people, they also get a cultural shock that this is a women traveling solo. That also, and if we are talking of especially budget constraints, then sometimes we have to compromise with the hotel standards. We don't really sometimes stay in hotels and we stay in people's house. And so sir, yes, there has been a problem, but I think security is in your hands also. And we must always be careful regarding what the administration has to offer about women's security.
You mentioned Bengali as your mother tongue, which it is. So I'm expecting you to narrate Indian Constitution's preamble in Bengali.
Sorry, sir, I'm not able to.
Will not be able to.
So you are electrical engineer?
Yes, sir.
Look, do you know what is micro hydel power?
Yes, I think it is. If we have less than 5 horsepower, then we call it a small hydel power. So probably.
Is it conventional or what non-conventional?
It's a non-conventional form.
Why it is non-conventional?
So because it is because the resource involved, that is the water, the electricity generated out of the force of water through a turbine, that does not deplete with time as in the case of
there is a new concept that is called ultra mega power project.
Yes, sir.
So what is ultra mega power project?
So ultra mega power project is a project which generates, I think, above 4,000 megawatt of electricity, and there are sophisticated technologies involved inside it which reduces the heat consumption for producing per unit of electricity.
What is the difference in between super thermal power and super hydel power?
So super
thermal power and super hydel power.
Sir, I can recollect super critical technology.
Thermal power and hydel power, super.
Super thermal power will be, I think, less than 4,000 megawatt, less than the ultra range, and super hydel power should be something more than 25.
Look, we have 3 parts in West Bengal. Northern part is mountainous, western part is plateau, and eastern part or southern part is plain.
Yes.
Mountain part is facing political tension, right? And western part, that is plateau, is feeling cultural alienation or social tension. And whatever the plain part, that is economic tension. Suppose you are chief minister, how you will solve such tension? What are the specific programs for all three regions?
As a Chief Minister of West Bengal, my aim would be to unite Bengal under one head. But that's a difficult job because, as you mentioned, there are problems of varying geographies and there are problems of varying cultures all around. We can improve our transport infrastructure for so that people mingle with each other on a greater density.
How you develop transport in what delta areas? What kind of transport you can develop in delta areas?
So we can focus largely on the riverways of West Bengal. For example, through Mathla, through River Goshaba. We can I think National Waterway 1 starts from Haldia. And if
in river, what type of transportation you are going to introduce? Because not everywhere depth is clear.
Yes, sir.
Thalways is always changing. So what kind of new kind of transportation service you would like to introduce in delta area?
So we can think of the roll-on, roll-off transport model, which will also be helpful for the industries. If we look.
Do you know hovercraft?
Hovercraft.
Yes.
So any drone kind drone?
No,
Is
no.
it related?
No.
Okay.
You don't know.
No, sir.
You don't know. Okay. Look, budget proposal on personal income tax is excellent. Corporation tax, India has become a country having lowest corporation tax, that is only now 15%, right? How it is going to help your home state? Corporation tax is now only 15%. How it is going to help you?
So if we lower the corporation tax, then I believe that it leaves a lot of headroom for investment by the companies in productive areas, in productive jobs. In case of West Bengal, we can, I think West Bengal is one of the resource-rich states, especially the Western Plateau part, the coal, and especially since the government has also gone recently towards a coal liberalization policy. So that amount of investment which comes from the headroom available for this corporation tax can be invested there by the private companies.
Look, we have national power grid,
Yes.
right? What is the concept of national power grid?
So initially India had 5 power grids, north, south, east, west and northeast. When we integrate all the power grids under national power grid, then I think we integrated them through synchronous auto transformers at every link. So that creates like there are certain regions, for example, the eastern part of India, that is resource rich and that produces a lot of power. Whereas the western and the southern part, they are more industry rich, but they don't have that much of power resources.
Which power grid having maximum surplus?
I think so the eastern power grid.
Surplus?
So,
Demand and supply?
In terms of production?
No production. Surplus. Demand is less, supply is more. Which power grid having this potential?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of. I guessed it would be the eastern power due to the less density of industries present there, and the western southern part would have more demand but less of supply because of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Neha, can you tell me what is Golden Revolution about?
Ma'am, Golden Revolution, it should be about jute industry.
That's Golden Fiber Revolution.
Yes, that's Golden Fiber Revolution.
And what is Golden Revolution then?
It is related to one of the agricultural revolutions only.
Obviously.
So, is it mustard?
Okay, no problem. Since we started off with Golden Fiber Revolution, can you tell me what are the problems currently being faced by the jute industry of India?
Ma'am, the problems currently being faced is basically a lack of demand of jute because due to rise of plastic, and plastic is very ubiquitous nowadays because it is right from industry to agriculture, everywhere we find the use of plastic. So number one is the falling demand. And ma'am, the another problem is land acquisition issues, especially in the state of West Bengal, Bihar, Orissa. And then after partition, like lot of the jute the regions which produce jute,
that's a long way back.
Yes. So, and then we can also look into the industrial policies of the state and the center, which has not encouraged jute production on a large scale as it used to be done in the pre-independence era.
Okay. If we talk about Indian foreign policy, Where do you think, in which direction, if we take north, south, east, and west, in which direction has India made the most mistakes with respect to its neighbors or countries?
Ma'am, a lot with respect to its neighbors. Okay, ma'am, I think I would consider the western part, that is in relation to Pakistan and in relation and little bit of the Middle East areas also, because
India has made the most mistakes.
with respect to Pakistan, yes, the western frontiers, and a lot of it also crops up from the internal policies that India is following at the present times. And
So why are we going on making such mistakes, such costly mistakes? Because it takes years to build foreign relations, and we can't be casual about it. Why India is not serious about improving its relations?
Ma'am, I believe that India is serious about improving its relations, but it has also it also has to do something on its internal. Like if we look into the Kashmir issue, it is a trijunction of our foreign policy as well as our internal policy as well as internal separatism. And when we try to maintain all these three heads under one shot, then I think there will be some initial problems. There will be some diplomatic pressures at different forums.
But Kashmir issue was still kind of handled by the Indian government. But after that, this issue of CAA and NRC has battered its image even more. Don't you think it's repeating its mistakes day after day?
Ma'am, yes, the CAA NRC issue has dented our image, especially with our neighbors. In fact, Bangladesh has also pointed this out recently. Yes, it has been a dent on the image, but I also believe that if a hardcore solution has to be found,
Was
then
it that important right now?
the CAA NRC, in my personal opinion, it was not that important. But if that is the agenda of the ruling government, then the administration has to follow it and has to.
Okay, my last question to you. What is Operation Vanilla?
Sorry, I'm not able to recollect.
Okay, no problem.
Neha, what is the meaning of your name?
Sir, I was told it means the first light of the sun, and in some other ways, it also means someone who is happy and loving and affectionate.
Happy and loving. Yeah. You share name with one of the film singers in the movie also. What's her name? Can you recollect her name?
Her name is Neha Bhasin. Neha Bhasin.
Bhasin. And there is Neha Kakkad also.
Yes, okay.
And there is a film actress also with your name, first
Yes,
name.
yes.
What's her name?
Neha Dhupia.
Neha Dhupia is there. Now, one last question. What are the incidences of happiness in your life?
Incidences of happiness? So, my majority of it, I think when I got through mains exam this year, that was one of the happy incidents in my life. Apart from that, sir, when I got admission into IIT, that was also a happy incident for me.
And talking to your mother doesn't give you any
Yes,
happiness?
yes, I thought I have to mention events and incidents. That is a regular day-to-day happiness,
Okay.
which I am
That's
always
a
proud
regular
of.
day to day. That's wonderful. The interview is over. You may go now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sit. So, what is your assessment of the performance?
So I don't think so. It was that good because
It was good. It was indeed good. We are quite impressed. Quite impressed. So, basically, at the interview level, while we are judging your personality, is not we are not judging your level of knowledge. That is also important. But more than level of knowledge, it is your total personality which the interview board looks at. So, as far as you are concerned, honesty of purpose is there. Your mental alertness is there. That is another very important this thing. Critical power of assimilation is there in you, which we could notice. Then we try to analyze your social traits also. In social traits, I'll come back to you again. But otherwise, variety, depth of interest, all those qualities which are required in a civil servant, you have those qualities. So you are a fit candidate to qualify for the civil services, and you will be an asset to the government of India once you get selected, no doubt about it. One or two small points we wanted to mention regarding when controversial issues like CA was asked, foreign policy. And apparently, the stand which you took was the stand taken by the government of the present day was against that. So there is nothing wrong in that, but you should be able to stand by that. You should be able to vindicate your point of view. Otherwise, you will be in a greater trouble. So try to strike a balance instead of taking a clear-cut stand that CA is controversial. Even CA, you may say, but this is government in its wisdom has decided like that. It has been passed by the parliament, and there is no higher body than the parliament. People may protest. That is a part of democracy, which they are doing. We are entitled to protest. But the government of the day has taken its decision in the wisdom, and then state governments, because of political reasons, they are against it. So many issues are there. So it's very difficult to take a clear-cut line of action. Try to be diplomatic in such situations, because where the interview board would like to put you in dock, there you should try to get out of that kind of an imbroglio. That is very important.
Did my point sound? Did it sound too unbalanced? Or
this is what we felt, that no, it was not balanced. I am not questioning your wisdom, whether you are wrong or right. I am questioning your diplomacy, sense of diplomacy. You should be careful enough not to get into that area of taking a stand as far as possible.
Okay.
Unless you are absolutely asked to give a clear-cut stand, better to avoid and duck such issues.
So one more thing, how do I avoid like this if CA NRC question is
You can
asked?
reword things. I mean, it can be linguistic.
Exactly,
Yes, to
exactly.
play with
Linguistic
words
only.
in that
It's
case.
linguistic only. And regarding your dress, I hope this is not the dress you will be wearing that day,
No,
You
sir.
haven't decided.
I haven't decided actually.
because this jacket and all,
Okay.
you should avoid. Your shoes also we could see.
Okay, sir.
So
Yes, sir. I'll take.
otherwise these are small things you should try to. It's a decent dress otherwise.
Okay.
So you can go in plain sari also.
Okay.
That will be quite fabulous. Otherwise you are a fit candidate to be selected. Wish you all the best. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.